Thank you everyone for joining. We're really excited about today's event. It's a special roadshow event by the Metaverse Summit. I'm personally really excited because this is a one-of-a-kind collaboration between Regent's University London and the team at Metaverse Summit. I've been following and they're doing some amazing work. So we're really excited to be partnering for the roadshow. And we also have a really special guest today in place. So with that in mind, I think today it's all about learning and really asking a lot of questions. That's what the event is about, and really getting to know each other in the metaverse and Web3 world. So with that in place, I will hand it over to our two key people from the Metaverse Summit, and then get started.
Hi, hello everybody. Thank you for joining the new edition of Metaverse Summit Roadshow, which is a series of online interview with experts, entrepreneurs, investors, and different companies around the topic of Metaverse. So thank you for our live audience for joining, and also this is going to be recorded and put online. So Metaverse Summit is going to be an event that is international around all technology and business in Metaverse that is taking place from 16th to the 17th in July in Paris. So today we are very happy to have a great guest speaker. So Aakarsh Naidu, he is an alumni of the London School of Economics. He is a experienced startupper because he built and scaled the UK-based venture that is called a Startuppreneur. And he was also actually in charge of India's top startup incubator and also led the startup program for Facebook. Well, today it's called Meta in India and South Asia before starting his own venture. So we are very happy to have him also because he is the co-founder and CEO of a company that is called Signa X, which is a web-based, Web3-based startup building digital assets for GameFi and the Metaverse virtual worlds. So without further ado, maybe I will leave the stage also to the speaker and to my co-host, Camille, for the rest of the roadshow.
Okay, so hi everyone. So Aakarsh, as Yingzi said, you led the startup and developer programs for Facebook in India and South Asia. And so while leading Startuppreneur before and now Signa X through building the Metaverse, it has given you to see more concretely than anyone what could be a future Metaverse. So my first question is, what can you tell us about your role at Meta and so for Facebook, and what were you doing prior to that?
Thank you very much, Yingzi, for the introduction, and Camille for the question. I'm really excited to be part of the Metaverse Summit Roadshow, mainly because of the initiatives that you've been undertaking and the fact that Metaverse is going to be the next big future of the internet. So we want to, we at Signa X are playing our role towards building the Metaverse, and we sort of are really excited to participate in the summit. In terms of, Camille, thank you for the question. I wanted to kind of take you through a little bit about the work that I was doing at Meta and how it relates to me doing what I am doing today at Signa X. So I was the head of startup and developer programs at Meta, where my role was mainly to engage with developers and startups in the AR, VR space and emerging technology space. So most of my earlier work, including the role that I had at the startup incubator, NSR Cell, was centered around building communities, supporting innovations, and taking technologies to the market, almost at the intersection of people and technologies and possibilities. So that's the space that I've been very passionately working towards. And being an ecosystem developer, I always had the mindset of seeing how is it that we can make an ecosystem thrive. How can we set up certain processes within an ecosystem, and how will that actually lead to a greater impact. And an example of that would be the kind of work that I did at Meta was to actually build the ecosystem, a suitable ecosystem for developers in the AR, VR, AI, ML communities, big data communities to be able to engage and interact with Meta's products. So Oculus, for instance, is one of Meta's products, and it is going to be the next big thing when it comes to how the metaverse is viewed. And my mandate as the head of developer programs was to engage with startups in the space who can try out certain experiments with the Oculus headset. And in the AR VR space. So I guess what really we were working towards is to see what is the biggest use case for AR VR technologies in a Web3 space, and that is today called as Metaverse. So I would say that for the most part, my work has centered around building ecosystems, and Signa X is also one such effort in terms of building the ecosystem to develop digital assets for the metaverse, so that we are able to onboard the next billion players and the next billion users onto the metaverse.
Okay, thank you. And so, so you have created Signa X. You have decided to quit Meta to create Signa X, but what can you do now that you couldn't do in Meta before, and why haven't you preferred to continue working with Meta rather than creating Signa X?
Yes. Yeah, thank you for the question. So I think it's more the entrepreneurial bug in me. I always wanted to be an entrepreneur. That was decided right from the time I started my career. I was working with startups. So while working and helping startups, I always felt that I myself could be an entrepreneur solving problems at scale. And that is one of the biggest reasons why I took a plunge into building things my own way, like in a way that I understand, in the way that I've seen problems, in a way that I can solve it at scale. So I guess that was one of the key reasons. But otherwise, I think the work at Meta was fantastic in terms of course, the platform is big. The problems they're solving are also quite interesting. But yeah, I think it was more about me embracing the entrepreneurial path.
Okay. And so, for the audience, according to you, what constitutes a metaverse?
Yes. Yeah. So that's a very interesting question. According to me, and according to what we've been, seeing all over, metaverse is a shared digital reality. A shared digital space where people can come together and interact with each other and create certain immersive experiences. So in that sense, I see metaverse as an extension to the real world, but in a digital format. So I would say that it's more of I would say whatever is happening today in a real world scenario can actually be possible, can actually be replicated in the form of a metaverse. Take for instance education. Education today can be delivered. Education and skilling can be delivered through a metaverse in a much more immersive format. Then we're talking about healthcare. Training in healthcare, a lot of these social issues can actually be delivered at scale through metaverse, and breaking all the barriers today that exist because of geographies, because of travel. I think metaverse is that space, where it brings all people together and in under one kind of a collaborative space. Even today, and metaverse is more than the use cases itself. It is being used as a channel for entertainment. People are playing games, online games, play to earn games, which has become quite a digital economy by itself, quite a booming one at that. And people are attending digital concerts, events, etc. in the metaverse. As a matter of fact, companies like JP Morgan itself have set up their space in the metaverse, and you can talk about different all the other bigger giants like Meta, Microsoft coming into the metaverse space. Of course, you have Decentraland and Sandbox, all of which constituting a digital space where you and I and anyone else can come together and really interact and transact. Yeah.
Okay, so you think really that metaverse can empower humankind?
Yes,
Yeah.
absolutely. Yeah, and more than the economic impact, it also has a social impact. It is a great leveler that brings people from different places together, in one format. And I think that's the power that needs to be leveraged around the metaverses. Yeah.
Okay. And how do you see, maybe by examples, a concrete integration of the metaverse in our society?
Yes. So as I mentioned in my previous response, that metaverse today has got many use cases. It is about creating a digital economy where gamers, developers, creators are sort of coming together. Like it is about creating those digital interactions which are of certain value. So if we were to look at what are the foundational blocks of a metaverse, I think NFTs, or what we are calling as digital assets, something that we are closely building at Signa X, are the foundational blocks of the metaverse, because all the transactions that take place in case of a metaverse, be it like a virtual land or a building or a car or a collectible trade, in-game assets, it could be anything. It's all NFT becomes the basis for that. And that NFTs have become more mainstream in society today, where there's been a lot more acceptance amongst people who've traditionally not been exposed to an asset class like this. In terms of how the metaverse is going to be integrated into the society, if we were to take, like, say, Web 2 and Web 3, Web 2 is very prevalent and very advanced today in whatever format it is. But that doesn't mean that Web 3 will take over Web 2, but it is a far more immersive and more interactive, multi-dimensional version of a Web 2 internet, that Web 3 powers. So we see a lot of potential in terms of the way people collaborate and interact, mainly in terms of work as well, virtual working. That was one of the biggest reasons why Metaverse became, or Meta even launched itself, rebranded itself as Metaverse, so that people can collaborate in a virtual environment through gestures, communication, as humans would in a real life. So the possibilities are immense, is what I would think.
Okay, so we can compare the impact of the metaverse as the impact Web 2 had before, like 10, 15 years ago on our society.
Yes, absolutely. Yeah. I mean, Web 2 had, I think whatever is happening in Web 2 is also be happening in a Web 3 format, because Web 2 actually brought a new wave of content creation by the users. And Web 3 is also going to bring in a new wave of, creation, because in play to earn games, it is the users that are creating some of these assets in the metaverse itself. So it is going to be truly a creator economy, where the creator is benefited directly, as opposed to the Web 2, where content creation actually led to the internet, the company to benefit from it. But here the users can be creators and the beneficiaries of that.
Okay, I see. And having worked with Meta, do you think that there will only be one unique metaverse, or a plurality of metaverse coexisting in the future?
Yes. No, I think the first term of metaverse originated in the 1992 novel, Snow Crash, and I think the way it has been projected there is also the fact that I mean, I think the concept of metaverse was explained by and large for the very first time. And today, when we look at it, if I were to break down different metaverses that exist today, including GameFi communities, so we have Horizon World, which is powered by Oculus and supported by Meta. Then you have Microsoft Mesh. You have Decentraland, Sandbox as well. These are all different metaverses. Then within that, we are talking about companies like JP Morgan setting up a virtual shop, Louis Vuitton also coming up. So a lot of businesses are now setting up their store in sort of the metaverse. And I believe that as it happened with the startup ecosystem, that in a particular sector you have 3 or 4 or 5 startups doing the same thing, but it'll eventually be one major startup that has consolidated in that space over time, and that becomes the market leader. Similarly, in that fashion, I feel that there will be a lot of metaverses created in the short to medium term. but over time, there will be an integration of all these metaverses into what we would call as a single world, because there would be protocols which will bring more metaverses together, and then more interoperability between different metaverses is going to happen, and therefore the possibility of a singular metaverse definitely exists, but in due course over time.
Okay, okay, thank you. And out of all the areas within the Web3 space, what are some of the areas that interest you the most, and where do you see the most potential? Is it gaming? Is it DeFi? Is it, I don't know.
Yes, yeah. So I would say I'm already in that space that really excites me the most, which is NFTs and the metaverse, which would be the most interesting space for me for more than few reasons. One is, of course, NFTs are defining or coming across as the new asset class, which also has different use cases with inside it. So like there are smart contracts through which NFTs are, smart contracts are programmed into the NFTs. And then we are also talking about, so there's this application of smart contracts, then there's like application of, I would say even tokenization of real world assets. And then we're also looking at, these NFTs being core to the development of the metaverses in some sense. So that opens up an entirely new digital economy in terms of the assets. So the other day we were exploring what kind of assets can we create for the metaverse. One of the ideas that came across is why not create cars? Like, we have these OEMs who manufacture cars for the real world. Why not have something that can manufacture cars for the virtual world, and so on and so forth. So it is far more exciting to me personally. I'm sure there are so many other spaces within Web3 space, such as DAOs and the DeFi space, so on to cryptos as well. All of them are interesting in a way, but I feel that I can contribute most value or derive most from my past experience and work well within the NFT and metaverse space.
Okay. And so, because we're at the early beginning of the metaverse, today, is there any obstacle, technological or legal, that could slow down its development, or like stop it for a while, or
Yes.
no obstacle at all?
Yeah. So of course, I did go through the fact that I'm aware of the fact that there are likely to be obstacles while creating something new, and so is the case with any other. Just a second, sorry. Yeah. So is the case with any other new technology coming into the market, and that's something that we have. Uh, I think as metaverse developers, future metaverse developers, we are aware of the fact. But we also need to keep in mind that governments today are more and more receptive to the fact that there is a component of digital assets. Of course, slowly governments are starting to recognize the power of digital currency, digital assets, and therefore some of these will actively be used within the whole functioning of the metaverse. So I would say that there are challenges, but that's obvious. Those challenges are not something new or different. In fact, it is all the more positive because people are supportive of the metaverse more than anything else. There will be challenges in terms of building the metaverse itself, and those challenges could be because a metaverse is also creating a new world altogether. Like, it is the kind of the world that you want to see, a kind of the world that you could not solve problems for in the real world, that you can actually solve it in the new world, which is the metaverse. So there will be a lot of creative ideas, a lot of possibilities, but also a lot of challenges, because people come with different notions of how a world is going to be like. And there have to be certain rules that need to come in to govern the metaverses at some point. And those are the challenges, which is part of the learning curve that we will all go through together.
Okay. Okay, thank you. And so one final question. Is the goal of Signa X to support the future firms that will create this metaverse?
Yes, absolutely. Because at Signa X, our key mandate is to empower the metaverse to bring the next billion players or the next billion users onto the metaverse. The way we want to do this is today metaverses are not able to scale faster because they're not able to give enough immersive experiences to the existing users. The existing users who've already been there have already maxed out all the experiences that exist. So to actually bring in new users to engage the existing users with more immersive experiences, you need more and more digital assets, more and more immersive experiences to be created, and it is very difficult for metaverse projects to create it with in-house teams. For them to build it internally, it takes time and it's more expensive and it's time consuming. So today, to buy a digital asset in the metaverse is really, really expensive. But we want to bring that cost down significantly by actually producing digital assets at scale, by working with game creators and designers and creating a strong ecosystem for them to be able to create digital assets at scale. And I think that's going to be the mandate. Who knows, in the future, Signa X would be building virtual real estate or developing play-to-earn games through the community that we've developed. So we're really looking forward and very bullish to support the growth of the metaverse.
Okay. So, thank you, Aakarsh, for responding our question. So, yeah, it was a pleasure, and I let Yingzi follow with maybe the chat question.
Yes, thank you so much for sharing all the insights and experiences. Let's do it, right? Bridging Web 2 to Web 3, bring more great project and metaverse project to the general public, to the next, as you said, a billion people. So yeah, so because we have this live session, so maybe the audience will have some question for you as well. So let's see if in the chat there are some questions, or maybe do we also already have some questions sent by email?
Yeah, sure. Thanks, Yingzi. Thanks, Kamil, and thank you very much for sharing your thoughts, Mr. Aakarsh. So I did have quite a few questions we received via email. So one of them is actually present in our call today, Nadine, where I think they had a question saying that, how do you see e-commerce or rather fashion adapting to the metaverse?
Yes, absolutely. So I think this is already happening as we speak in terms of how fashion brands are adopting metaverse to really engage with their loyal customers. Let's take Nike for instance, Louis Vuitton for instance. They've already set up their sort of virtual stores where they're able to sell fashion. Now, I think fashion is going to be a really, really important, I would say, part of the metaverse economy, because the metaverse is also about creating our own digital identities in a virtual world. And the way we want to appear, the way we want to look is also going to be a critical part of the experience that we are going to derive from the metaverse. And therefore, a lot of these fashion brands are going to take center stage when it comes to people creating their own digital avatars, creating some sort of in-game collectibles. It could be sunglasses, and it is all about being able to showcase your fashion, your own style statement, which would otherwise sometimes be difficult in a real world. You can actually create that experience in a virtual world, and therefore most of these fashion brands, the economy or the e-commerce version for fashion brand is going to be mainstream in the metaverse.
Okay, so we have another question which says, what kind of organizations or what kind of regulations do you think are efficient for the metaverse world?
Yes. See, I think one of the key facets of Web3 the whole concept of Web3 is based on the fact that there is not going to be any central authority which is going to define the rules and regulations of how things have to happen. It is the community that collectively decides what needs to go on, and therefore DAOs or decentralized autonomous organizations, which is I would say, a version of a virtual version of a company, which is basically a set of rules that gets executed. So I would see more and more DAOs coming in and managing the rules and regulations of a metaverse. The biggest example of a DAO managing and setting regulations is that of Decentraland or Sandbox. It is primarily constituted as a DAO, which then manages the regulations of what kind of land, what kind of interactions that people can do. So there is this whole concept of tokenization or tokens that exists today, which define voting rights. So today, people or holders of those tokens actually have a say in terms of what kind of regulations have to be followed, and that is truly the power of the metaverse. I would say the regulations can primarily be in terms of safety issues over time, but technically, the internal worlds of metaverse cannot necessarily be governed by rules or regulations set by a central authority. It is the users and the token holders who are going to define what the rules of engagement are going to be.
Great, thanks. Thanks. I think the other one was from Robario, who says, how interoperable will the metaverse be? And yeah, I think it's interesting. I think they say, imagine going to Mesh, meeting your Fortnite avatar. So how do you think will the interoperability component work in the metaverse going ahead?
Yes, it is today. Today, the interactions of a metaverse have been restricted to the specific metaverse itself. So I think that is one of the challenges that we face. As with any, if you see the technology curve, it's always this early stage phase where we kind of face these kind of challenges. So I would say interoperability is going to happen between different metaverses, but I think I mentioned that in my earlier conversation that interoperability is a thing of the future, but it is going to take time. I'll give you a few examples of how interoperability in the Web3 space is happening. Like, let us take wallets for instance. So there was Taurus wallet, then there was MetaMask wallet, and there were like 100 other types of wallets which have come up in the market, but which have come up in the Web3 space. But it took time for MetaMask to be one of the kind of key wallets that can be used. Similarly, Ethereum is now being seen as a standard for most of these smart contracts, so to say. I guess in that scenario, there will be more and more unified protocols that are going to come in, which will provide a sort of interoperability between various metaverses or platforms that we're talking about. So yeah, I think it's a matter of time.
Great, thanks. We have a couple of, I think it's almost the same question from Kate and Michael, where they say, how do you see the future of digital assets in the metaverse, and how can Signa X be a part of the process?
Okay, yes. I would say, I think the most of my conversation today has been centered around how NFTs are really going to be fundamental in terms of building the metaverse. And what I see as an NFT for the people who have sort of come in here, what exactly is an NFT? NFT is more like a digital asset. It's like a receipt or a proof of ownership stating that you own the asset. So there is something called as NFT metadata that is going to come in. So what are the properties of the NFT? Who is the owner? Who is the original creator? And where did it originate from? What has been the value, etc. So certain information of the asset is going to get tagged, and that is going to be of high value, because the whole concept of Web3 or blockchain is the transparency of information being available. So and the concept of NFTs are also that sometimes they are limited in nature. They are only finite, so that creates a lot of demand to actually purchase any NFT and use it in game. And also, what is happening is earlier when the NFT wave came in, mostly people were going for collectibles, artwork, etc., which really has no utility. It is more about people collecting those assets and keeping it in their vault, but they could not really monetize it. But the second wave of NFTs, which is happening currently, is that people who already bought those NFTs can actually rent out their NFTs, which can be used in a metaverse world. They can also sort of have a utility. So the utility of NFTs is going to be the next big wave in NFT 2.0, where each of these NFTs has some utility in the metaverse. Like it could be your in-game characters, your avatars. It could be a certain power that you have, or certain actions that you can take inside the context of a game. So that is the utility you are going to derive as part of the NFTs, and therefore Signa X is going to empower the creation of these NFTs at scale, because today each metaverse has its own way of creating assets, has its own rules, has its own environments on which assets need to be created. So it really needs bringing the ecosystem of game designers and developers together to create assets specific to a particular metaverse, and also create general assets which are interoperable across different metaverses. And that is something that Signa X is going to empower in a very, very big way. Yeah.
Great, thanks. We have another question from Dheeraj in the chat box, who says, what kind of digital assets is Signa X creating? Will it be customized, where it's sort of in specific quantities, or will it be a single item in large quantities, or is it both, where it's customized at the same time it can be at scale?
Yes, yes. So as I mentioned earlier, that there will be certain NFTs created for a specific environment, such as Decentraland or Sandbox, will have its own set of characters, own set of buildings, own set of in-game assets. So that is specific to a particular metaverse. But we are also talking about certain NFTs which can be used across different metaverses. And in that scenario, that's exactly what Signa X. So where Signa X comes into the picture is the problem statement today is metaverse projects want to scale, but they do not have the sufficient internal resources or game designers and developers to put an entire metaverse together. They can maybe create virtual land, but the experiences have to be created by users. And for those users to come and understand and to create something which is very, very customized, it becomes difficult. So that's where Signa X comes and works closely with these metaverse projects to be able to customize to a large extent some of the digital assets which are suitable for the environment, for the respective environment, whilst also creating a very small proportion of assets which are tradable across different metaverses. Now, coming to the point of whether it will be a finite number or an unlimited number, it is always preferred that the NFTs are of a finite quantity or limited number, because there is sufficient demand and also an exclusivity for the owners. One disruption that Signa X is also doing is the fact that some of these assets can actually be leased out, and that is something that does not exist today in the market. And by leasing out, you can actually procure these assets at a lower cost, try it out in a metaverse environment, and then you may buy it eventually. So that way we are able to kind of manage and scale the entire asset creation process.
Great, thanks. Thank you for that. Yeah, maybe any other questions on the chat, or I can go for one last question from the ones we received via email, and then I'll hand it over to Yingzi and Camille, who will talk a bit about the Metaverse Summit as well. So maybe a quick last question from some of the ones we received. I think this is from Erico, who had, I think it's almost what you've spoken before, but Erico was asking, how would you explain the impact, maybe one or two ways in which the metaverse is going to impact humanity in the future? I think if that's the question.
Yeah. So I strongly believe that metaverse is going to be the foundation for a new world. I think what it is doing is, like taking the basic principles of let's just say Web3, where it is about eliminating intermediaries and bringing people together in a single plane. And you know, I would almost say that it is similar to the real world, but you can actually create it. You can create certain simulations in the metaverse environment, which can shape certain values in society. Like, I think that is going to be critical, because today, for people to shape certain behaviors in society is quite a challenge, because a lot of politics have been behind it, and a lot of I would say cultural differences that existed today. But through a metaverse world, you can actually create a unified culture and a unified concept of humanity, that people can come together with shared values, with similar values, and actually look towards solving some of the bigger problems together. And yeah, I guess that is where it has its own challenges as well as the opportunities. And I would strongly see metaverse as a great leveler in terms of education and skilling, where it's actually going to create a lot of benefit to the humanity. And also in terms of virtual healthcare, delivery of virtual healthcare, it's going to be very, very critical and essential. And also the way people today work and connect with each other. And geographically distant locations. Of course, we've had the Zoom and the Meet and the Teams of the world, but there was, as humans, we prefer to interact, and that is something that today it is going to break geographical and cultural barriers between different people, where they're able to interact together in sort of a virtual world. So I'm very, very strongly believing the fact that metaverse can do a lot of good to the humanity, whilst of course managing some of the challenges that it brings along with the growth.
Great, great. Thank you very much. I'll now hand it over to Yingzi and Kamil, who can maybe tell everyone present here today a bit about Metaverse Summit. What are you guys up to, and yeah, I guess a bit about yourselves as well. Yeah.
Yeah, for sure. Thank you so much, Aakarsh, for all the sharing of insights. Specifically, like our mission in Metaverse Summit is also to share, to learn, and build a better future of Metaverse, right? When we're talking about better future, it's like more decentralized, actually connecting real life and the virtual life to make people's access, for example, more democratized and make people's life better. Actually, that's our end game. That's our goal, right? So happy that you are working on something that is concrete, and looking forward to see all the progression and roadmap of Signa X as well this year and forward. So Metaverse Summit, as I mentioned, is a community and also event around Metaverse. So we are inviting people either to connect offline to talk about different side of Metaverse, including gaming, Web3 decentralization, VR, AR, virtual world, and of course, social and digital identity. Our big event this year is going to be in Paris in July 16th to the 17th, but we are also organizing a lot of community events offline. For example, we did in Denver, in Paris, in Madrid, Barcelona. So upcoming ones, hopefully we can also have one in London. All right. So at the same time, we also have a series of online interviews. So we are very happy to collaborate with Regent University to actually bring this to all the alumni and the students, and to maybe perhaps work with everybody afterwards around the entrepreneurship of the whole metaverse topic. So very exciting to see everybody, and hopefully we can connect very soon for the next session. Thank you very much.
Great, great. Thank you so much, Yingzi. Kamil, anything you wanted to add before I?
No, Yingzi said it all. So yeah, thank you so much to take the time for the interview, and it was very interesting. So yeah.
Great. Thank you everyone.
Thank you,
And just
for organizing. Yeah.
Thanks. Thank you so much. And I just wanted to say we will send across some more details of the Metaverse Summit to the entire regions community post this call. The recording of this session will also be up in quite a few channels, the Metaverse Summit channel, as well as the regions channel on Handshake. We are aiming to spread the message of this session to people in 10 plus countries in our regions community, both alumni and current students over the next few days. So yeah, I guess please do watch out for our email with more details on our next events, next collaboration with the Metaverse Summit, as well as all the work they've been doing and we at Regions are doing as well. So as I said, we are super thankful to everyone here today, especially to the speaker as well as the Metaverse Summit team who've taken out time. And all of us, as I said, have one common goal, right, to make, I guess, the future better through Metaverse, through getting people together, making network, I guess, learn, as you said, and more importantly, just have a good time. I think that's at the end of the day the goal for everyone, right? I think everyone's too stressed in their lives already, so you need to have a good time to just let all those other things go. So yeah, I guess from the Regions community, we are definitely all really excited. As I said, this is not the only event. We'll have more and more events coming up in our community in the next few months. And thank you all. I think it was really nice to have you all, and have a great weekend. I think the weekend is here almost, so let's do this.
Thank you. Thank you for organizing, and see you very soon. Stay tuned.
Yes,
Thank
see
you.
you very soon. Take care, guys.